Perhaps the best part of my job at SARRC is meeting quarterly with our new Self-Advocate Advisory Board. The board consists of 10 autistic adults who advise SARRC on our programs, research, marketing, and communications, ensuring that autistic voices and interests are represented in how we advance our vision, mission, and strategic plan. Now, fortunately, our board is excited about the ways that SARRC supports individuals with autism and their families. But last fall, they raised some pretty tough questions about our Peers program, which teaches social skills to teens with autism. On one hand, they recognize the importance of learning how to appropriately interact and develop relationships with those of us without autism. But they also pointed out that while social interactions take place between 2 or more people, the burden of making those interactions successful often falls on them. And then Thomas, an autistic graduate student at ASU, summed up the discussion with 8 powerful words. Can't people without autism simply meet us halfway? Thomas is right. Children, teens, and adults with autism work so hard to develop the skills they need to successfully integrate into our communities, and we can help accelerate their progress by finding ways to adapt and accommodate them. At SARRC, we often say that we are as committed to improving the behaviors and skills of people with autism as we are to improving the behaviors and skills of the communities in which they live. Essentially, we've built a partnership between people with autism and all of you, creating our inclusive, supportive community. A community that appreciates, encourages, empowers, befriends, respects, and employs people with autism. A community willing to wake up super early and battle the Arizona Biltmore parking garage to learn about autism. And a community that led PBS NewsHour to acknowledge Phoenix as the most autism-friendly city in the world. But SARRC's goals are bigger than Phoenix. By 2030, SARRC will become a statewide organization that puts effective services within reach of every Arizonan. That requires us scaling what we built here in Phoenix to ensure that supportive communities exist throughout the state, ready and willing to meet people with autism halfway. To do so, we'll need to expand our physical footprint, our virtual reach, and our strategic partnerships. Here's what we're imagining for Arizona. Imagine SARRC going from 4 to 9 campuses with locations that are new in the East and West Valley, North Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. Each SARRC campus will be anchored by an inclusive SARRC community school, which enrolls just as many typically developing students as it does those with autism. And this is where we build community from the ground up. Every day, those typically developing students are learning how to meet children with autism halfway by welcoming, supporting, including, and interacting with their peers with autism. Our typically developing students are future classmates in school, teammates on sports teams, coworkers, employers, and perhaps even employees. And they're going to help us make Arizona the most autism-friendly state in the world. Imagine every child with autism identified and diagnosed by 2 years old. 1 in 36 kids are diagnosed with autism, yet the average age of diagnosis in Arizona is nearly 5 years old. However, in a study funded by the National Institutes of Mental Health, SARRC partnered with 110 pediatricians who agreed to universally screen every patient at 12, 18, and 24 months, lowering the average age of diagnosis to 22 months and giving kids about 3 more years of treatment. We can meet people with autism halfway by identifying every child by 2 years old, partnering with pediatricians to do so, and making Arizona the state with the lowest average age of diagnosis in the country, and maximizing the potential of early intervention. Imagine every Arizona school is using SARRC's Social Challenges Screening Questionnaire to identify those students who often go missed or overlooked because their symptoms are far more mild and difficult to detect. Great Hearts Academies is demonstrating this is possible by annually screening every 2nd, 4th, and 8th grade student, then referring to SARRC any students that need further evaluation. Best of all, we've now made it even easier for schools and parents to screen for autism with our Think Autism app, which will be featured nationally later this month on Viewpoint with Dennis Quaid. Here's a short segment from the episode.
Welcome, I'm Dennis Quaid. Every day, new ideas pave the way for a better tomorrow. In this story, we are highlighting some of the most interesting and innovative developments impacting the world around us. Here's one such example.
Social challenges lead to really poor outcomes, not just academics, but also everything in a child's life kind of revolves around school and their success and failure, but socially as well. And so identifying kids early who might be challenged in that way, and also really identifying what the underlying root is, was important for us. Because if you know the underlying root of a child's social challenges, you can respond to that issue in a way that is lasting and in a way that really helps them be more successful.
How the Think Now Autism program began was with our son Dave. Dave, from the time he was very small, had many life challenges. And we had misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis, therapy after therapy, medications after medications, but none of them seemed to aim at the heart of his problem, which was this social disconnect. By the time he was 30, finally, the diagnosis of autism appeared. But sadly, it came too late for Dave, as he succumbed to depression. So our passion for this program is that no other family, no other child, no other teen go through these struggles and end up with this same outcome.
We know that our teachers need every resource that they can, and more information generally about our students and how to help them has always been better. And what's super nice about the app and about the questions is that anybody can answer.
Imagine every Arizona police officer is prepared to safely engage with people with autism. For too long, people with autism have been unjustly and often brutally harmed when well-intentioned police officers simply misunderstand autistic behaviors. That's why we've partnered with Virtra to create an immersive video experience for police officers and allows them to learn how to identify the signs of and interact directly with people with autism. These simulators are now available in 55 locations in Arizona, 600 in the US, and in 40 different countries. We can meet people with autism halfway by working with law enforcement agencies to ensure that Arizona police officers utilize the simulators, creating more inclusive, supportive, and safe communities throughout the state. And imagine, every Arizona business is hiring adults with autism. Nationally, only 14% of autistic adults are competitively employed. But in Arizona, we have businesses like Find Timepiece Solutions, whose owners, employees, and customers are benefiting greatly from their autistic coworkers. SARRC has also worked with businesses to create comprehensive employment manuals for hiring adults with autism. In fact, in December, we heard from 2 Dogtopia franchise owners in Texas who read the manual then proactively connected with autism organizations that were local in their area to promote their career opportunities within their stores, and quickly generated a robust interest list of potential talent. Own a business, run a department, or have direct reports? Consider meeting adults with autism halfway by interviewing, hiring, and supporting them to be among your most qualified and dedicated employees. During the week of this year's Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles visited SARRC and presented us with a generous donation to support our programs, research, and services. At the end of their tour, we asked some members from our Self-Advocate Advisory Board to share their experience of working on our board. While each of them admitted that they were skeptical at first, they were grateful for how SARRC had received and accepted their perspectives. A couple of them said that for the very first time, they felt heard. One of them even started crying as she described her experience of seeing how her feedback had been applied. And all of them insisted that the Self-Advocate Advisory Board was making a transformative, lasting impact on them. Why? Because SARRC had met them halfway. Imagine that. Thank you. Imagine not only receiving services from SARRC as a child, then again as a teen, and now as an adult, but also discovering that this supportive community has always been there to meet you halfway. Perhaps that's the reason for this young man's infectious positivity. Please join me in welcoming to the stage someone who might be even more inspiring than his namesake, Lincoln Ragsdale III.